Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to already the fourth Plovdcast. This time I have a very charming lady from the Copenhagen area who lives in Bulgaria right now, and around Plovdiv she has her own wine tour business. Her name is Zina Sorensen. Welcome, Zina. Thank you for allowing to be on my podcast.
Hi, Chris. Thank you so much for having me. How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you. So, Zina,
Good.
how long are you already living in Bulgaria?
I have been in Plovdiv since 2014, the beginning
Okay.
of 2014. Yes. I moved here I moved here to be with my then boyfriend, now husband.
Mm-hmm.
So I moved here for love. Yeah.
Oh, that's a very good reason. And your boyfriend is of your husband right now. He is Bulgarian, right?
Yes, he's Bulgarian. Yes. I met
Okay.
him in Sweden. So it's a bit of a funny story, but
Mm-hmm.
we met in Sweden. We were both studying there. Um, he was a year over me, so we had
Mm-hmm.
like a very brief overlap. We didn't study together, but we studied at the same place and we studied the same thing.
Mm-hmm. What did you
And
study? I'm very curious.
okay, well, we studied environmental management and policy. It was a
Mm-hmm.
master's program, and the university was the Lund University, so
Mm-hmm.
in the town of Lund, which is not far from Malmö
Mm-hmm.
in South Sweden. And the institute was called the Institute of Environmental Economics, yeah.
Uh-huh.
And
Interesting.
so we met there at the institute, and yeah, we liked each other. And so after roughly a year of long distance long distance
Mm-hmm.
relationship, I decided to move here when I finished my studies.
Mm-hmm. Did he invite you, or did you tell him I'm coming?
Well, we were trying. So basically, 2013, I ended up spending quite a lot of time here writing my thesis, my master's thesis. So I spent
Mm-hmm.
like the whole summer. It's like a whole semester, right? So I was here for
Yeah.
quite a few months. And we were like traveling around Bulgaria because I was interviewing winery owners or winery managers.
Mm-hmm.
So we ended up like traveling around Bulgaria together. And we started talking about the future, and it was very unclear, like basically I didn't know what was going to happen after I finished my studies. I was
Yes.
obviously going to try to find a job, and I also figured, oh, for a foreigner it must be so difficult to find a job in Bulgaria. So I
Yeah.
was just open to like finding a job anywhere in the world, and we talked about him potentially following me
Mm-hmm.
wherever
Yeah.
I would find a job. And then I'm trying to remember. I mean, basically, what essentially happened was I didn't really find a job anywhere. And um, during my thesis research, I had, because I was writing about Bulgarian
Uh-huh.
wineries and Bulgarian wine tourism, we already had this idea of opening a wine tourism business, a tour operator.
Mm-hmm.
Because during my research, we discovered that there was such a gap, there was such a need
Mm-hmm.
for people in Bulgaria to bring tourists to wineries. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you hear about wine tourism, and we all know that like France
France. Yeah.
has wine tourism, Italy, Spain, Napa Valley in the US. But what I discovered back in 2013 when we were visiting wineries was that nobody was visiting wineries.
Mm-hmm.
And so we just figured, okay, there is something here. There's an opportunity here. There's a need for like a middleman, right, between
Yeah.
the visitor, the tourist, the person, and the winery. So we already had that idea, but then, you always think to yourself, oh, starting your own business,
Mm-hmm.
that sounds really
Scary.
risky, scary, and so I just kind of like put it in the back of my mind, and then we just thought, okay, let me just
Mm-hmm.
try to find another job. But I couldn't find another job. And then I remembered interviewing a person in Bulgaria, and they were like a Bulgarian Danish tour company. And
Mm-hmm.
so I ended up reaching out to them, and they actually offered me a job. So when I got here in 2014, I already had a job, which was pretty cool. And I was actually working with Scandinavians. So I was using Danish every day, and
Vikings
it
meet
was,
each other.
yeah, and it was cool, right? Because the job was also based in Plovdiv, not in Sofia, which was great because my boyfriend, my husband, lived in Plovdiv, and so I ended up working almost 2 years at this travel company, this travel agency, and just using my own language every day. And then eventually we returned, like we revisited the idea of opening our own little wine tour business, and we ended up registering Bulgaria wine tours in 2014 and then launching it in 2015. So super. While we both were working with other jobs, we on the side, part-time, we were like slowly building up our own business.
Cool. Sounds like a very good story. And what I liked about it is that when you did the study, probably you didn't even think about that. When you started your research, you were not researching it because you wanted to start a business. What was actually the purpose of that study? Because you're talking about environmental management, something like that. How does it connect with making wine? Because I'm curious about that. Like, are there a lot of environmental problems with wine with that, or?
So that wasn't my focus actually at all, because
okay.
you know, my background before doing this master's program is in tourism. So okay. I spent, you know, I've been in the hospitality industry for over 10 years. Before doing my master's program, I was working in hotels, in 5-star hotels for several years. And before that, I was studying hospitality management in Dubai. So my bachelor's degree is in hospitality management, and then I've got several years working in the hotel industry. So, and then I decided to add on this master's where you're looking at environmental issues and sustainability. I really wanted to get into like sustainability in the tourism, like sustainable tourism, which I ended up not really doing. But in a way, it's pretty cool that I'm now working with wine tourism in Bulgaria, because wine tourism is an alternative type of tourism.
Yes.
It's small scale. It's not like mass tourism. And so you do have a lot of opportunities to make it sustainable. And so maybe in a way, there's a few, you know, things there that were what I was looking for, what I was wanting to do with my life. No, so my thesis was actually looking at wine tourism as a way to achieve more sustainability in rural areas of Bulgaria.
Yeah, I was thinking exactly that. Yeah, because I studied rural development, and this would be an activity that I would say, like, hey guys, because in the rural development, you want to have this small scale tourism, to go to smaller farmers, or to go to people that, you know, that bring extra information or something that's interesting, but not like the big scale tourism with like buses and people with yellow flags and these kind of things.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I was looking at it from almost two different vantage points. I was looking at it in the sense that, like, Bulgaria is so famous for tourism at the Black Sea, right? So like during the summer, so for a short period of time, the Black Sea coast is just, you know, overrun by tourists, and it's on a mass scale, and it's not necessarily very sustainable.
Not really, no.
And then, of course, there's a little bit of winter tourism, right? We have some ski resorts, so you have some ski tourism. But then, for many years, what Bulgaria has suffered from is, you know, not having all year round tourism, and also just having, you know, tourism at these specific locations, and not having a lot of tourism where people explore the rest of the country, right? And so there was like a great need to like diversify the tourism product into all the other things that Bulgaria has to offer, like rural tourism, adventure tourism, like hiking and horseback riding, cultural tourism and spa tourism, like all these alternative types of tourism. And one of them is wine and food, right? Because We have wonderful wines in Bulgaria, and unfortunately, around the world, people don't know that
Yeah, this is
quite
one of the things.
yet.
Does sorry to interrupt you, but does Bulgarian wine has an image problem, do you think?
So I guess so. From what I can understand, is back in the during the socialist times here, production of Bulgarian wine was very high. So there was a very high production and a very high export. And so when I talk to the older generations of people in the UK or Germany or Poland and all these places, they will remember Bulgarian wine from like the 80s, you know, and they will say it was, you know, cheap but good, and especially the sort of to this day actually, you know, Poland is still one of our biggest importers.
Okay, I didn't know that.
So yeah, so and you know, all the former communist countries, also East Germany, etc., like Bulgarian wine was popular there. And then of course, you know, after the changes in the country, the production fell drastically because everything was then privatized again, like reprivatized, decentralized, giving back the fields, the vineyards, and to the original owners. And of course, it had a drastic impact on production. So production fell. So today, you won't really find Bulgarian wines very easily in the world, right? So if you go to supermarkets, if you walk into like a supermarket, a big supermarket, like one of those really large ones in any Western European country, you might be lucky to find like one Bulgarian wine. I mean, you probably won't find one. So to find Bulgarian wine, you know, maybe you'll find it in like specialized wine shops, or you'll have to like find it on some sort of online wine shop if you're living in Europe. So it's not easily accessible. And then when it is, it's a little expensive. Like we both know, like in the Netherlands, if you walk into a big supermarket, like you can find wines for like €5 or whatever, you know, and Bulgarian wines tend to not be, they tend to be a little more expensive than that. And then they face a bit of a challenge, right? Because it's a bit like, well, why would I pay €10 for a Bulgarian wine? Like, I don't even know what that is, you know? So there's, you know, it's not so much that it has an image problem as if like a negative image. It's more like people just don't know them and can't find them and don't have access to them. Like people don't even know that Bulgaria produces wine, not let alone good wines. So
I didn't know that. I would never thought, you know, when I go to Bulgaria, I mean, when I went to Bulgaria, I'm also here since 2014. And this is what I tell people. What did you know before you came here? I say, well, the capital is called Sofia, and you don't have in Bulgaria doesn't have the euro. Because, well, that was for me. So I had to, you know, recalculate the salary I was going to get in a call center. I said, that's about it.
Yeah.
I mean, I had no idea.
Me too. I also only knew like Sofia, and I only like Sunny Beach, and that's like it. I didn't even know there was skiing. Like I hardly even knew where it really was, you know. Like
I knew that they had which, because it's, you know, we know that the Cyrillic is Bulgarian, but I knew, oh yeah, this is the European country that has the Russian alphabet. You know, this is how most people say it. So I like the Russian alphabet, and you know, Bulgarians don't like that most of the time when you call it the Russian alphabet. But yeah, well, I had to find out the hard way. Anyhow, so for your business, do you have like local customers, or do you have international customers, or do you specify maybe only for Danish people because you are Danish and you have your contacts there, or how does it go?
Oh, so it's mostly like international. It's foreign visitors. We don't get many Bulgarians. So yeah, no, it's definitely more like more than 95% international. So most of our customers are from the UK, the US, so English speaking the
Oh.
sort of the English speaking countries mostly.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll get some Germans, some Dutch people. Yeah, it's a little, some French, some Israelis. It's a little different, but the biggest is US and UK.
Okay. And why is it that way? Just because you're advertising English, or they're just more interested, or just more of
Yeah,
them, maybe?
yeah, I would definitely say that perhaps the fact that like our website is in English, like all our communication is in English. So I'm sure that plays a role. I'm sure that's why we get a lot of those English speaking people.
Mm-hmm.
For and they come to us directly. That's the thing. So when people come to us directly, they will communicate in English, and it's usually from those two countries. I don't know if it's also because there's a lot of British people who are familiar with wine tours, who
Mm-hmm.
like to travel for food and wine, because we're talking about people, especially the Americans, if you think about it, like they're in the US and they
Yeah.
actively they actively search for wine and food themed holiday in Bulgaria. Then they
Mm-hmm.
find us, they contact us directly.
That's great,
So
actually. That they're able to find you directly is really awesome, and that's, I think, really a great achievement for you and your business.
yeah, but it goes to show that they're specifically looking for it, and then they find us. So and I don't know, another thing is perhaps that they're looking for these people, these British and Americans, the people who come on a tour with us, they have often been on other wine tours, right? So they've already visited South Africa and France and Italy. And so they're perhaps looking for something a little different. And then they happen to sort of find us, whether they're specifically looking for Bulgaria or a Balkan country, right? They're adventurous, and they like the idea of trying something new, which is, a wine tour in Bulgaria, as I said before, and not many people even know that Bulgaria makes wine. So, it's obviously people who have some experience, who really like wine. The people who book like a full week with us, and they come, and, the Americans come all the way just for that 1 week wine holiday with us. Amazing. And then go home again, right? So they're like serious wine people, wine lovers, right? So that's I don't know, and I'm just guessing, like Italians and Spanish people and French people, like they know wine from their own country, and maybe that also plays a role, right? Because if they're from a country that has fantastic wines, maybe they're just not so, I don't know, maybe it plays a role, like they don't quite think to themselves, oh, let me try like this sort of Balkan destination for wine,
Maybe
so I don't know.
maybe I think there's also something in the EU. I read about something, and I don't know if this is true, but you're the expert, so you can judge this. That in the beginning, like a lot of foreigners bought land in Bulgaria to grow grapes, let's say it like this. And then we're talking about when just the EU started, when Bulgaria started to be part of the EU. But now they're trying to restrict this a little bit because, Italy and France, they're of course not happy that people can make wine much cheaper in Bulgaria than in their own countries. So that's this is like a political thing. Like I don't know if this is true. I don't know if this is true, but I read about this. So although the EU should be
I'm
like,
not so sure.
The EU should be open. Like, open, and well, this is the case. If there's a new country, then the business should be the same. But I read something about this. Don't know if it's true, but find it interesting. Anyhow,
we do have some we have foreign owned wineries in Bulgaria. Yeah, we do have foreign owned wineries. Yeah, some Italians own wineries here, French, Polish. Yeah, we do have a few.
So basically, they already know how to make wine, and they just export this knowledge, and they bought the land here. Yeah, why not? What is the reaction of your customer? How did they see Bulgaria? Because, like you say, I didn't even know that there was wine in Bulgaria being produced. So how do they react to this? If you take them on a tour, are they surprised, or do they know already? Do they compare it with Italy or France, or how does this go?
So the great thing is, when people come here, because it's, it's typically their first time and they're being adventurous, like I said, and they're trying something new. They come with like zero expectations. Like they don't know what to expect, which is, I think, great, because every single person, I would say, is positively surprised. They always tell us, especially by the end of the tour, that they're blown away. Like they had no idea that the quality of the wine here is so good. Like the wines, they're surprised by the wines, how good they are. And the food and the people and the nature. Like it's always positive feedback from people.
That's great.
And that's really great. Yeah, where it makes us very happy.
So you're actually advertising Bulgaria in a broader sense like that.
Oh yeah, we're spreading the word, because those people, once they have a good experience with us, they go home and they talk about us, right? So it's like positive word of mouth. And that's, we've actually gotten quite a bit of business through just word of mouth, like people recommending us, and then people then book a tour with us like a year later or whatever, because their friends have told them about us. We've had a few Americans like that, actually. Not only that, we also get repeat customers. So we get people who come on a tour with us. They enjoy it so much they come back.
Wow, that's great.
Especially when they find out that, like, because one tour with us, even if it's a week tour, it's typically only exploring 1 or 2 wine regions in Bulgaria. So there's so much more to see. So during their tour, when we're talking about the other regions, people are like, "Ooh, we'd like to see that too." And so they book another tour with us the next year, which is really cool, to go see another region. So
how many wine regions does Bulgaria have? I think 6. Wasn't it 6 or 7?
Well, so we talk about 5 wine regions in Bulgaria. Okay. That's what we typically that's how we typically still divide them. That might change in the future because there might be a push for further classifying the regions, cutting down the regions. So, but yeah, we've got 5. So we've got, like, you and I, we're in Plovdiv, so we're in the Thracian Valley. And then you have the Struma River Valley, which is down by Melnik. And then you have the Rose Valley, which is not so far from us, right, where all the roses are. Yeah, and then you have up in the north, you have the Danubian Plain, which
Plevin, right, around Plevin.
Yeah, so almost all of north is basically the Danubian Plain. So almost everything north of the Balkan Mountains, as you know, the Balkan Mountain range kind of cuts Bulgaria into two. And so almost everything north of the Balkan Mountains to the Danube River is the Danubian Plain. And then you have the Black Sea coast, by the Black Sea coast. Yeah, that entire region by the coast. Okay. So those are the 5 larger wine producing regions. And then you can start to talk about, subregions and, whether the region should be cut further down, because there are specific subregions that should almost be a region on their own.
Yeah.
But yeah, 5
regions. Sounds good. So looking at when you started in 2014, it's 2021 now. In the last year, I mean, you cannot escape from this. We had the COVID-19 and a lot of restrictions have been. Tourists stay away from, well, basically everything that has to do with hospitality management. First of all, how does it affect you? And secondly, how do you deal with it?
So 2020, well, as you can imagine, it's been quite a year. So, this pandemic, I would say the tourism industry might just be one of the most heavily impacted industries because of this pandemic. So for 2020, we lost almost every single booking, right? So we had almost zero. I think we had 1 or 2 just before the lockdown, right, in early 2020.
Yes.
And then everyone else once like this broke out and there were lockdowns and, flights were canceled and, everything was getting locked down, people would cancel. They would either cancel or they would just postpone their trip. So what's nice is the people who decided to postpone, which is, the much better option for the tour company, is that you postpone and you don't cancel.
Yeah.
What's nice is the people who've postponed are actually coming. At least some of them are in 2021, so later this year. And perhaps, hopefully, if things are much better, maybe some of them will even push it to 2022.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's been a really difficult year for, all businesses in the tourism industry, like hotels, airlines, travel agencies, tour operators, like everyone in the industry has been so impacted.
Mm-hmm.
And especially for, I guess, well, for us, we're so small, we're a boutique tour operator.
Mm-hmm.
And we were just 3 people, or 2.5 person, as I like to say. Yeah, so for us, the positive thing being so small is that you can adapt really quickly, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you don't have a lot of expenses. Like, you can kind of like downsize really quickly and sort of cut things, compared to a larger company, I guess. But at the same time, it's also just really difficult when you're small, because you're so dependent on the cash flow coming in from your sort of individual, like just one tour is a big deal, you know what I mean? Like just one, like every person counts. Well, for a huge company, like one guest, like one tourist is perhaps not so important, but for us, one tourist is really important. And so getting, almost 0 tours, like doing 0 tours in 2020 almost, it's been really difficult. But the positive thing is that we could kind of like just put a pause, like put the company on pause. Mm-hmm. And also, I can only recommend people to always have like, don't put all your eggs into one basket, and always have something on the side. So we were quite good at having a couple of other things on the side. And personally speaking, I spent most of 2020 being pregnant, and now I'm on maternity leave.
So congratulations.
It's just like, thank you. So it's actually the best time to have a baby, because there's not much going on anyway. Although we are seeing some positive signs for 2021. Maybe later in 2021.
Yes.
Because of vaccination and, maybe things just improving, people willing to travel more. So let's see what happens.
Hope so. Yes. To go a little bit from what you're doing into to you as a person, what was for you the most positive surprise? We already talked about it, that we both actually didn't know much about Bulgaria when we came here. So what was for you a very positive surprise? Like, you were like, wow, hey, I didn't think this about Bulgaria.
Well, I always say that what I like the most here is the lifestyle, the more relaxed lifestyle. I guess it's also maybe a Plovdiv thing, right? We have the whole Aylak thing going on here. So it's super Aylak here. So perhaps I would have felt slightly different in Sofia if I had like I had a job there and was living and working in Sofia. Maybe I'd feel differently, but I came to Plovdiv and I just, I don't know if it's surprising. What I liked is the relaxed lifestyle, the fact that we're close to nature, that you can just enjoy life more, Mm-hmm. For many years I was, before living here, for many years I was working in the Middle East, and I was working in hotels and working 12-hour shifts, and just stress.
Yeah.
Right. A very busy life. And then you come here and it's just such a different pace and so much more enjoyable. And then there's also the fact that I'm from an expensive country, right, in Scandinavia, where prices are sky high for everything. So coming here and then just like enjoying the fact that like going out to eat in a restaurant is so affordable, having a beer is so affordable, like your social life is so rich because just because people are obviously more social here, like there's this culture of going out and sitting out compared to Scandinavia, where it's cold and we sit at home inside.
Same in Holland basically.
And also it's just so expensive, so you wouldn't go out every day, you know what I mean? Like back in Scandinavia, like you would not, even 2-3 times a week, you would not go out like that. Well, in Bulgaria that's totally normal, right? So so I really enjoyed the social aspect and and nature. The mountains are beautiful, the weather is wonderful.
Most of the time,
most of the time, I'm talking it's summer. When it's warm.
How did you have reactions from your family and friends when you like told like, hey, my boyfriend lives in Bulgaria, and I'm deciding that I'm going there and I want to live in Bulgaria? I mean, what did your folks, let's say in Denmark, told you, or how did they react?
I mean, honestly, there wasn't like a big reaction. It's just no, because it's a little different for me because I've been an expat for many years, so I've lived in many countries. So people in Denmark have just become accustomed to the fact that I'm always somewhere. And not there. So it was just like, oh right, okay, Zina's doing this other thing. I mean, because I spent many years in the Middle East, and I've traveled and I've lived in different countries and I've worked in different countries. Like I left Denmark at age 18, and I have not been back except for a few months here and there. So people are like, okay, that's another country Zina's moving to.
Okay, just like normal. This was like a normal routine for them. Like, okay, this is Bulgaria, good. So what do you think about the future of Bulgaria in the whole thing? Where do you think Bulgaria is moving to? What do you see is the direct, what do you think is the direction? Maybe you can just see it from your part as a tourist country. Like, what do you think is going to happen in that aspect in Bulgaria? How will it develop?
In terms of tourism, well, there are a few theories out there. So, I've been attending a couple of like online travel conferences, and some people were actually saying that, you never know what's going to happen in the future. One of the positive things about Bulgaria, one of the positive things, if we look at it in light of this pandemic, is that there are not a lot of tourists in Bulgaria. It's a big, very open, open country, like with a lot of nature. So perhaps people will feel more inclined to come visit now because they'll think to themselves, okay, not too many people. We can book private tours that are sort of relatively affordable, and we can just be like us. We don't have to be like in a huge bus with like 50 other people. And it's a lot of like open air activities and things to see, right? So they feel more safe in terms of contracting the virus. And perhaps a negative thing here is our rate of vaccination is not so high in terms of like other countries.
I think we are one of the lowest of the EU, but Holland is also very bad. So we are like fighting for the lowest place, I think. But anyhow.
So that could perhaps have a negative impact. So you never really know. I'm hoping for the best. I'm hoping that people will realize, okay, you can come to Bulgaria. There's beautiful nature. The weather's great. It's more affordable. The wine is good. The food is good. The people are nice, and so many cultural things to see. And we'd love to go see Bulgaria. Another thing to consider is also travel restrictions. In so many other countries, there's still like very high restrictions, and there's always this like sort of fear of a lockdown, right? From the tourist perspective, there's always this fear, like, am I going to go on holiday somewhere and then all of a sudden they lock down while I'm there?
Yeah.
and just makes my, make my life difficult. While in Bulgaria, I mean, we've had lockdowns, but a lot of them have been like semi-lockdowns, not like full-on lockdowns, and we tend to be a little bit more relaxed compared to other countries. So perhaps that will also play a role, But I'm hoping people will come and visit and return, and I'm hoping people will not just go to the Black Sea coast, but actually explore more of the inland destinations and
drink
really
more Bulgarian wine, of course,
and drink more Bulgarian wine, right? And just experience the culture, experience the people, experience the real country.
Good, great. So that looks basically like a bright future. Like things are going to get well here. That sounds good.
I hope so.
So as a last question or remark, is there anything that you want to give or want to say to the listeners and watchers of this Plovdcast? You say like, hey, this is something from my heart or from my brain or whatever it comes from, but that you want to share with the people that are listening or seeing us right now.
That's a good question. I guess perhaps, as much as possible during these difficult times and during the times that we've just all been through, try to support your local businesses, So any local products, local tour companies like ours, just support your fellow your neighbors and support the community. I think that's something that I'd like to perhaps just get out there, because people really need it. Like, support small businesses, support your local small businesses. They could really need the help. Like they really need the support right now. So yeah, that's all I want to say.
Great message. Thank you, Zina, for being on the Plovdcast. And
thank you for having me.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. And and I think it's finally good that people are aware that we do have wines in Bulgaria, and that they can book a tour with you and to really get into like a deeper knowledge of this. And yeah, it's interesting for me to know why someone from Denmark decides to live in Bulgaria, because I don't think there are many Danish people around here in at least in Plovdiv, but I think in the whole of Bulgaria. Anyhow, again, thank you for being on the Plovdcast, and I'm going to say to the listeners and the watchers, do vijdane, or just ciao.
Ciao.